Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is where you're listening at. This is me, Maren Costa, with Unapologetically Maren, the Cornbread Chronicles, just coming at you a little different today. We have a very special guest. They have their own podcast called Looking Through the Glass. It's a mother daughter team. We have the daughter, Jeselle, with us today, and she's actually giving her story, her solo story, for the first time without her mom. So, Jeselle, we're going to shoot it to you. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. The last few days have been a little on the
Yeah.
triggering side. You know, giving my story without my mom being around is kind of different for me. Um, because I've always had the need to make sure that she doesn't look bad or that nobody judges her because of what happened and what I've been through. Because what I've been through is this just the side of things that I've seen that I had to go through for some reason. And a lot of it I don't blame her for, as weird as it may be. I know that we're now coming into the generation of um, if our parents are toxic, we're no longer going to have anything to do with our parents type thing.
Yeah.
I very much have been seeing a big sign of
Yeah.
that.
Kids
Um,
emancipating themselves, even as teenagers. And
well, a lot of people are tired of the narcissism. The narcissism has had a lot of light shedded on it, and a lot of people are starting to see the relatives who are narcissistic and or abusive, and there's because there's new light on what type of abuses there are too.
right.
um I've never experienced physical abuse. I did with my mom up to to like about 13, 14 years old was when that physical abuse stopped. And you know, she never seemed like herself when my mom would go into the physical abuse. I've been, I know I was taught by my ex-stepdad how to block, so I became an
Yeah.
expert blocker. I couldn't punch, but I could block, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so he taught. So it would piss her off because I knew how to block all of those hits, whether it was an uppercut or coming to the side or anything like that. It would piss her off even more. And she just would go into these rages with me. And I just knew how to poke that button just
Hmm.
right.
Me too.
Um, yeah,
Really
daughters
bad.
know how to, I think his daughters just know how
Yes.
to do it,
Yes.
especially with their mothers. But I used to be able to poke that just right and set her off just right. But I wouldn't do it on purpose either. I would, react with emotions, and she did not like that, and she would lose her shit on me.
Yeah.
She would, you know, she's she faced a lot of traumas at the same time. This is all while she was having the ever living shit beat out of her and living in traumas with family not wanting to be there or not willing to help out, and she's trying to
Yeah.
survive with her two kids. And that's where I go, well, my mom didn't mean to, like, but I still
Right.
faced it. And,
Because
she's not that person today.
hurt people, especially when they're being hurt. It kind of
Exactly.
it rolls down. And no, it's not right. No, it's not an excuse, but it was the excuse she had at the time. She didn't know different, and she was going through so much. So actually,
And
kudos to you for recognizing that and forgiving that abuse from her and believing in your heart it wasn't your mom. Because I, just from the conversations we have, that's not your mom either to me.
no. Well, so growing up, my my whole story is complicated. I have a very complicated story. Biological
Really
dad may not be
complex.
biological dad, whatever. But the dad that was raising me, that my mom was married to, he, they divorced, and I always thought I was the problem. I was 4 or 5 years old when they divorced, so of course, kid immediately takes that on. Anytime there's a divorce, we know that. And so my dad had my brother in California, and my mom had me in Vegas. And I rarely ever got to see my dad. My dad was a workaholic. He was very much I need to work to provide for my kids in the future. And so I rarely had a decent relationship with my dad after they divorced. I very much thought my dad didn't love me. I felt that way for a long time, and or work was more important. And then it didn't help that his side of the family very much lived in the same city, didn't have very much to do with me unless my brother was in town. So I came into a life where I felt very unloved. I wasn't important enough. I'm being faced with a step parent that is extremely abusive, and he has good moments, but he's a dick in other moments,
Yeah.
and he was jealous of that my mom would put me first and not put him first. So that was his
Yeah.
immaturities, but then he took it out on me. Um, so the first few years, from about 5 years old until I was about 8 years old, I don't remember too much of it. I remember small little snippets of my life. When I was about 8 years old, I was sexually assaulted by two boys. They were in their about teen years. And one was about 13 and the other one was about 16, 17 years old. Right around those age range. Can't be too accurate. Um, and that I was manipulated into it. I was playtime. That's what they considered it. And that right after that situation happened, almost like immediately after, my mom was looking for me. I didn't check in. This is the 90s to
Yeah.
the 2000s. This is like early 2000s, so
Yeah.
um, we're supposed to check in with our parents. We
We're
still have
checking
that
with our
95.
parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lights come on, you go inside. We're still living in that generation. And so I didn't check in. My mom, I was supposed to be at the park and I wasn't there because you could see it from the house that we lived in. I wasn't there. She went searching for me. And I was gone for 2 hours, 3 hours. I don't remember how long, but and I heard her calling for me, and I jumped up and I ran out of the situation as fast as I could. 8 years old, I don't really know what's really happening.
Yeah.
Um,
No idea what's going on.
no idea. I think it's innocent.
Yeah.
Um, that so when the second she saw me running out to the car, she had me get in the car and she's yelling at me, she's screaming at me, she's pissed off at me. And then I get home with her and immediately I got my ass whipped with a belt. And it was, how do I tell them what just happened? I don't,
Happened.
my mom's
Yes.
already mad at me. I'm probably going to get blamed for what just happened. So never told her anything about it. I started going through situations where I said I was scared to go to the bathroom, and I would use diapers to pee in
Hmm.
and put them in my closet. I started having. I didn't know what that was until now. Like recently, I figured
Yeah.
out that was me acting out, and nobody was able to see that.
Yeah. It's very common, actually, in sexual assault victims. Yes.
Yes, and that was where she was having her moment where she was, having big fights with him, and then she would up and leave, and I'm stuck in this house with my toxic ass stepdad who's just doing nothing but talking mad shit about my mom. Like he is angry and he's talking about calling her a whore, saying how bad she is, calling her a drug addict, like all these names, and I'm trying to process, and he's so toxic, it's scaring me. I've already witnessed him put his hands
Yeah.
on her one other time. When is he gonna do that to me?
Right.
Um, so so around that time was when I started processing things a little differently. I had a kid that lived across the street that I was really, really good friends with, and him and his little brother, we fought like once out of the like 2 years we lived in this trailer park. And, I uncovered the memory that we were, you know, trying things underneath the
Yeah.
porch. And it, and I just, looking back at that, it's just so horrifying because I was only 8 years old, no more than eight. And I was doing these things with another kid because things
Right.
happened to me. And that time of my life was very, I was trying to find who I was. I was trying to hang out with, that lived in the neighborhood. They had like their own cheer team, and I wanted to be cool. And so I would join
Yeah.
them, and then they would just full on bully me. I got bullied, and then so here I am encountering my more bullying encounters outside the times I've had them before I was the age of 8 years old, because I've had plenty of bullying situations then too.
Right.
That are just very spread out. I had bullying situations from teachers at that point too. Um, so here I am trying to learn how to process my emotions and how to deal with things, and I don't. So I start shutting down more, um, getting more and more distant from my mom. My mom, she's, I'm just seeing nothing but toxicity in my life.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to express that to anybody. So I just, as a kid, I just started shutting down. And so it was like, you know what? I'm just gonna act out anyways. I'm getting in trouble for
Yeah.
it. So that started my whole spree of acting out, because I'm gonna get my ass beat anyways. So, because this
Might
man
as well
started
have fun
lying.
before I do it.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
this man started lying, he was lying about things that I was doing that I wasn't actually doing. He just wanted me to be in trouble, so my mom would beat the shit out of me because he couldn't put his hands on me. Um, and then at some point, when I was like 10 years old, my sister came along. My sister was born. Well, now I'm facing a life where this house was fully toxic. We were living with
Yeah.
his parents. And so I have my grandparents fighting upstairs, my mom and my stepdad fighting, a baby crying, and then so there's just the overstimulation of everything, this yelling and the screaming and just angry energy around me all the time. This was the one point in my life where he actually decided to put his hands on me and throw me across the room, and then told my mom, oh, it was because she wasn't doing what I told her to do. I had dishes on dishes always piled up on me. It almost turns, it sounds like a Cinderella story, because I sat there and I
Yeah.
felt like Cinderella, this, the stepdaughter.
Yeah.
And so I would always have to clean him. He was a messy man. I could not stand it. He would never do his own dishes. He would always pile them up and then put blame, and like, oh, she left for the weekend before doing the dishes, and when I would have all the dishes clean, kitchen clean, and that went on for years, just years of that, kind of treatment. Um, and then he would have his moments where he'll go to the store and buy me something, and and tell me how much he loves me, and that I'm his daughter, and having that kind of, it was always flip-flopped. Who are you gonna
Yeah.
get today? You know?
Yeah. So it's narcissistic manipulative cycle. I'm
And
mean to you because you deserve it. And now I'm sorry. I'm great to you because you deserve that. Yeah. Whatever you give you is what you deserve, whether it's good or it's bad.
yeah, and or well, my mom and I would be gone all day and we'll come home and it's like, well, which man are we gonna have today? Is he gonna be drunk and egotistic, or is he going to be drunk and rude? It was always something. And after about the age 10 is when the abuse started to hype up. My sister was born, and so my sister is his world. That's his little girl. That's, his daughter. And I built a very heavy animosity towards my little sister.
Yeah.
I already didn't have a good relationship with my little brother because he lived in, California with my dad, and I lived in Vegas with our mom. Um, so that put a lot of strain on mine and my brother's relationship. He looked at my mom a certain way, and then I was like, you don't live with her, you don't understand her. Like, I very was
Yeah.
protective over my mom.
Very defensive, protective. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, because we had certain family members talking into our ears at that time, around those
Mm.
times too, and it was working on him, but it wasn't working on me. And but then my little sister came along and I built this animosity towards her, and now I don't like both of my siblings. I, you know, I very much raged around my sister. Like, I never physically harmed her, but I would get overstimulated and hit the bed beside her head and just was like, stop. And that was the scariest thing because I was like, that's my little sister. That I'm supposed to be a big sister. I'm supposed to protect her
Protect
from,
her.
yeah, that I'm supposed to protect her from everything, from this hurt, from this harm. And that's when I kind of flipped. That's when I had an eye opener of going, I can't be that person. I don't want to be like him. And so took it to, no, I'm going to protect her from this. I'm going to love her no matter what.
Right.
And so that built my relationship with my sister a little bit stronger. We bonded a little bit more. She got hurt, it tore me apart. I didn't want her to see everything that, or the kind of person her dad was, but unfortunately she'd gotten to see that.
Yeah.
And that couldn't be hidden from her entire life. But I didn't want to be in addition to that. And so, I mean, we got through a lot of it. She turned out to be something else. And but over the course of like between the ages of 10 to like 13, was really, really weird because my mom started to see the psycho that he was. And then it was more of, I just need him around because I need the money and I
Yeah.
don't have a way to provide for you guys so it became more of an entrapment.
Yeah.
Um, and, my relationship with my mom started to build a little bit more. Now, I still lashed out on her, and she still lashed out on me. We still had a lot of abusive back and forth situations, but that's when I started going, no, I'm going to voice up how I feel. Because I was always, you're too sensitive, stop crying, or I'm gonna give you something to cry about, or it was always something along the lines of, you know, just you need to stop talking, you need to stop having a voice. So I always very much was shut down, not gonna talk about it. I faced a lot of school bullying too. I was
Yeah.
very much picked on for being overweight. We didn't have a lot of money, so sometimes my laundry, I wore the same clothes 2 days, 3 days in a row because we didn't have the laundry money,
Yeah.
and or we had a washer and we had to hang dry our clothes. So, I got, I would always get picked on. Oh, you smell, your clothes smell, and it's like I'm doing the best I can.
Yeah. You're
Um,
a child. Yeah. You
um,
can't do anything different than you're doing. But
no,
kids are
there was
so
nothing.
cruel. Kids are so cruel.
They are, especially when you start going into the middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school is where it got really, really, really rough for me. Like, I handled elementary school like a champ. I did. I don't know how I did it, but middle school is where it really hit. I spent 4 years in middle school. I got held back. I got hit by a car and hurt my knee. And uh, my first 2 years were different. My first like 1.5 years. In sixth grade, I was harassed by a one of the students. He rode my bus, and I think he was a seventh grader. We, and this is where I like to point out, we have been sexualized for years because I go back and we would have smack ass Fridays in middle school where the guys would run around smacking girls' asses.
Yeah.
Oh, so, I had a lot of that going on, except I was too fat to be pretty, but they were willing to smack my ass.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right.
and so, but I wasn't pretty enough to, be in a relationship with, which middle school shouldn't even be a question about that, but I wanted that. I wanted to have
I
a boyfriend. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be pretty enough that I can be part of the cool kids. And that became very, very difficult because now I don't know who I am. I don't know. Um, I want to have this life that they have. I want to have the things that they have, the house that they have. I, because I was living in a weekly,
Yeah.
and my mom,
We we
go
always
ahead.
want what we can't have, but I promise you, even if you had had it, unfortunately, something else would have been the problem, because I didn't have abusive parents. I had great upbringing. I was the popular girl in school, but only because all my friends were the popular girls in school. I made sure that I purposely fit in with those girls, but it didn't mean I fit in with the guys. I was everybody's best friend. Or let's use Maren to get to this friend.
Hmm.
We're going to get to them through Maren. We're going to befriend her. We're going to talk to her on the phone every day. But it's to get to her friends. It was never for me, So I had nice clothes. I had all the stuff you were saying that you wanted. It would have made it better. I had that, and it was still horrible.
And I had a friend where they would have like parties every weekend. This is when I,
Yeah,
had gotten held back and went to a different middle school. Excuse me. Um, they would have parties like every weekend. Her family welcomed me in, and her parents were divorced, but she had step parents. They weren't abusive.
yeah,
And she had one of the most loving houses, and but I could see that she still had a hard time with things, and
yeah,
yeah, and being welcomed in, having actual friends like that, I loved them. They were amazing to me, and they were true friends to me. I could go over there, and
yeah,
we would walk to school every day. They were real friends. We're still friends to this day. We just don't talk as
yeah.
much.
Mine were real friends too. I got lucky that they were, because I befriended them on purpose with agenda, but that was as a little kid. But when you grow up in middle school and high school, I mean, I had the same friends, so I just got lucky that they were actually my friends.
Well, and I know, like in middle school, you start to find who you are. You start to,
Yeah.
figure yourself out. And I did a lot of that soul searching in middle school, but at the same time, I did a lot of numbing.
Mhm.
Or I was numb, but trying to search for the love that I so desperately wanted and needed, because my stepdad is a piece of shit. My mom is working her ass off, and I knew at the time that she was on and off with drugs. I was well aware.
Yeah.
I was a snoopy ass kid. And not gonna deny
Same.
that. And so, um, I was searching to, for this love that I can get from somebody. It didn't seem like my family loved me, because here I was going, my mom going through this shit. I was witnessing all this shit, and nobody was actually coming there to help. Nobody was, they
Yeah.
were there to talk shit while they watched. And that's
Yeah.
where it was, I'm seeing this, and you guys aren't trying to help us at all. You're just wanting to just watch my mom's downfall instead of helping
Right.
her. And so that really affected me in a lot of ways. Um, I, especially after the harassing and everything, my mom was there for me when if I told her, Mom, this is happening to me, she was there for me. She believed me on that aspect when it came to the schools, but she didn't believe me when it came to the aspect
Yeah.
of her husband. And so she would help me out and get out of those situations. And I hung out with a lot of guys when I got started going into middle school. Girls were just too much drama for me. I had a couple girlfriends, but I was like, I can't do the drama. I already had enough in my life. And
Yeah.
that's when I started getting called a whore and a slut by my stepdad. That you're just like your mom, you're just going out there sleeping with all these guys, and I just knew that you're just like her. And it's like I just hang out with these people. They're just friends. Like, I had my crushes, but I knew that I was never gonna get
Yeah.
end up dating the guy. I wasn't pretty enough. I was a fat, chubby girl that he hung out with.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me is I got friend zoned. Um, or I had older high school guys that were wanting to be in relationships with me and
Yeah.
thinking that I wanted to give it up.
Right.
And I put myself in a lot of those bad situations where I got very lucky to
Same.
get out of them.
Yeah.
Um, at some point, towards my other half of middle school, phone was introduced to me. And that's when internet started being introduced to me. And in that search of love and to be acknowledged and cared about, that's where I found myself going into the internet to find that said love and attention that I so desperately wanted.
Mm.
Um, it was in more of just little things off of Facebook, the Farmville, talking on there, the little
Yeah.
Facebook things. It started with that. I was introduced to a couple other websites from a cousin, that were more fantasy type
Yeah.
websites.
Yeah.
And that's when I was introduced to this whole thing called role playing. And I absolutely, I could develop my own world. I could develop me. I could be the most beautiful, skinny, or curvy girl I could possibly want. I can have blonde hair, red hair, burgundy hair, green eyes if I want. I can be a vet tech. I could be, I can
Yeah.
be a nurse. I could
Anything and
be anything.
everything you could possibly want to be.
I developed me into something pristine, something that was going somewhere in life, that could be loved, that could be cared about. Because I just wasn't lovable in my own self, in my own skin. Um, so, and that's where that took off. I started learning how to. Sorry, I had messages pop up. I'm like, where did that come from? Um, that's where I lost myself. I lost
Yeah.
myself to it, because I was also being groomed and sexually assaulted at that age too. I was about 14, 15 years old. It happened for about a year while we lived over there. It was my neighbor, who had a little girl and a wife. And
Mm.
um, anytime I walked to the store, he would pull up and offer a ride. Well, what do I have to give in return for that ride? Because this is Las Vegas, summer of, the midsummer. It's hot. It's
Yeah.
110 degrees outside. Of course, I want that ride. It's hot.
Right.
So, what am I going to give up for that? Okay, well, we're going to park under the bridge and then I have to do my sexual acts. Um, that was the one where it really opened up my mind to what happened to me when I was 8. I kind of forgot about it. I kind of
Yeah.
backburned it. And um, so it was one of those things where it came to me in a dream, opened me up, and I told my mom about it. That's when I started to tell my mom, and I was like, Mom, is this actually real? Like, did this happen to me, or is it just a dream? Am I crazy? She's like, no, sometimes memories do come back in dreams. She goes, that is something that is real. And I didn't realize that what I was going through in that time was opening up. Hey, this happened to you when you were 8. You were manipulated and forced to
Right.
do something that you're too innocent for. You are innocent for this. And I had a hard time believing that I was innocent in it. Yeah, I was 14, 15, but I was also consenting. But my mom was like, and I had to be explained to me that no, you were
You
manipulated
couldn't
into consenting.
consent. Yes. You were
Yes,
groomed. You were manipulated. But in your eyes, you knew that you didn't say no. You knew I just did it to get a ride because it was so damn hot. So in your head, you're guilty, and that you were your worst enemy in that. But you were
uh,
so little, you didn't know, what was
I,
going on, and
I,
then it wasn't okay, and or like even though you
what,
kind of know it's not okay, it's like you figured out the reason. I needed to get home. It was too hot. It wasn't that big of a deal. You kind of
and
make it
I,
just to just to be able to get along with the day.
and just to get along with life at that point. Life was so chaotic.
Yeah,
There was a lot of my mom not being around. My family was really on a high end of not wanting to help my mom on anything.
yeah,
We were going through a lot of issues, and I don't know how many times I attempted to kill myself in those situations. I ate poisonous plants because I was like, I don't care, let it be slow and painful.
yeah,
And nobody loves me anything anyways. Like I'm okay with this. And I've tried slicing myself, and I've done it all. I tried every single way. I've tried pushing myself down the stairs. I've tried all of it. And then I would always realize I have a little sister who's going to protect her, who's going to, but how is my mom going to be if she finds me? How is she going to react? Is she really going to be hurt, or is she going to be numb to the situation? And I realized my mom would actually be devastated if she found me. Um,
yeah.
and I opened my eyes to going, no, you are loved. You just may not be loved in the way you want to be loved. And, or that you need to be loved. And I was emotionally mature for my age. I shouldn't have understood everything that my mom was going through, but I did. I saw everything, even though she wasn't open to me with what was going on. I watched her cry. I watched
Yeah.
her go through it. I may not have been seen, but I definitely heard. Um,
Right.
but facing the sexual assaults and everything, I also had kids telling her that I was, sleeping around and with other people that I wasn't actually sleeping around with, and I would get in
Even if you
trouble.
were, still doesn't condone the fact that you were sexually assaulted.
And
Another evil thing that kids and some adults do is that, yeah, you could have been sleeping with 10 guys consensually, all within your age range, but one person assaulted you, and that's one incident is not okay. And it doesn't mean what were you wearing, what was your reputation like. None of that's a factor. We just have to remind ourselves that.
at that age, yeah, they're like, oh, peer pressure, talk about, you have
Mm-hmm.
safe places to go to, but it was like, where is my safe place? I don't want to talk to my friends about this because maybe they're going to judge me. I don't want to talk to my mom
Yeah,
about this because maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't want to tell my grandmother because how is she going to react? I don't
yeah,
know how these people are going to react. I'm scared that they're going to react in the worst way possible, going, why are you sexually active? Like, what are you doing? And because like I said, I opened to that door. I allowed it to be open. The pursuing of it was 100% the man that
mm-hmm.
this was a 40 something year old man. So yeah, that's where it's going. You were 15. You were
Right.
coerced. And
Yeah.
um but it definitely, at that age, at that time, you're not believing it. You're going, no, I'm just finding love. He loves me. He's loving on me. I'm getting some kind of love here. Let me feel something.
Yep.
And that continued. That very much turned into online, talking to anybody, any man, any woman, didn't care if it was old, young, just let me talk to somebody. Turned into role play sessions, where you carry out the fun part and live this
Yeah.
whole fantasy world. And then it just continued. It didn't matter if my mom took my phone, I found a way. She would separate the phone and the battery, and she would take the battery to work with her. And guess what? I went and grabbed that phone, plugged it into the wall, and was back on it. Um, I very much did not let her try to take that away from me. She sat there and destroyed this phone. Um, but I was like, no, I can go to the friend's house and get online and do it. I can go to grandma's house and get online and do it. I can do it from your phone and delete you don't know how to backtrack that. You don't know
Yeah.
how to look up the
Yeah.
history. So
I don't
I
know
can
how
get
I
away
deleted
with
all the
it.
history and yeah.
Exactly. And I didn't realize what kind of danger I was really putting myself in. Um, and this is
It was
where the new internet was still new. We were still
so
learning how to
new.
do things. And um, yeah, I got very lucky that I did not get kidnapped, that I did not,
Mhm.
go through worse things that could have happened. Um, but it didn't stop me. I knew the dangers. I still continued to put my picture out there. I still continued to take pictures and,
Your
inappropriate
need to
pictures.
feel wanted was greater than your need to feel safe. I get
And it
it.
went
I get
on.
it. I mean, I was the same girl. I was the same girl, and since I'm a couple of years older than you, I did. I at least I am glad I didn't get the internet access and the cell phone access until I was in my early 20s. It was bad
Yeah.
enough then, but at least I was a little bit more mature. I still did what I did, and I did it for the wrong reasons. You
Hmm.
still know you're meeting these men not because, I mean, I was trying to fill this void. And I wasn't stupid. I knew that they didn't actually like me, but I allowed them to use me because I'm just using them. I kept telling
Yeah.
myself, I had a friend who was very promiscuous as well, but because she enjoyed being promiscuous, it wasn't a mental health thing. It was, she liked sex. She liked
It,
sex, and so kudos to her. So it was different for us because we were doing
yeah.
it together at the same time. We were meeting people because we were best friends, but it wasn't affecting her mentally and emotionally. She wasn't fine because I hated myself after I did everything I did. I didn't want to be doing this, but I needed that feeling, that void to be filled. She just wanted to have a good time. I mean, so
Oh yeah.
to her, she didn't understand that our situations are different. She's
Oh yeah.
actually now going to go date these guys. They actually do want to date her. They think she's a little skanky because she had sex first, but she still dates half the damn guys. They didn't want to date me. I was just the one night stand girl who had the pretty friend.
Yep. Well, and so everything went from online to turning into actual physical. So
Yeah,
it started with the online introductions at 14, 15 years old. And then living in the same neighborhood, I was sexually assaulted for a third time. I was in a very high stress situation. Got into a fight with my mom. Um, don't even remember what the fight was about because why would I remember that part?
right.
Um, I just wanted a friend, and this guy, he lived in the neighborhood. I knew him. He was, lived just right up the street, and he was like, "You need a friend? Yeah, I want to talk." And so we, walked off. I was taking out the trash, and we walked off, and
Yeah,
we lived on a really steep hill in Vegas, and so that steep hill, the apartments that we lived on, we were on the upper hill and then we walked down the stairs to be on the lower part of the complex. And we're sitting there talking, and nobody lives in these apartments, and um, there was well, I'm here to help you situation, and it just escalated. I Next thing I knew, I had a knife on my throat, and I was listening to my mom scream for me and call for me because she had no idea where I was at, and I disappeared for 20 minutes at this point.
wow. This was someone you knew, though.
Yep, it was somebody I knew. Um, and after that happened, um, he kind of course, distanced himself. And told me if were to tell my mom and, or anybody that he would have, us
Yeah,
killed. And I only believed him was only because he ran with the gangs of
Yeah.
of the neighborhood. And the second I walked back into the house, my mom lost her shit on me. Why didn't you come home? You weren't responding to me. And I got smacked, and I don't know how to tell her what just happened, so I just took the beating. And here I am numbing myself even more. Um, I very much just felt like at that point I had the typical teenage attitude, don't get me wrong. Um, but from after the age of 13, I cut back on a lot of my attitude and was just trying to have a better relationship with my mom. I very much had a hard time loving my mom because I felt like she wasn't around. I felt like that
Right.
I was a mistake to her, that, I wasn't what she wanted in life, and I was the ruin of her life. And
Oh,
she didn't, it wasn't anything that she ever said to me. It was just
yeah.
I
It's just
said
how
those
you
things to
allowed yourself
myself.
to feel. Yeah. I
And
can relate to that too. And we know it's not real and
so
it's not true.
her
We know
and
that now, but
absolutely not. Absolutely not. My mom loves the hell out of me. She tells me I'm the light of her life in a lot of areas. So I was 13, 15 years old. Like, every teenager ends up kind of sometimes having that feeling. There's always something that's telling us we're
yeah,
doing something wrong. And so I always felt like she didn't want to be around me. But my mom would still want to, let's go, just spontaneous, let's go to the lake. We're gonna go to the lake. And she would pack two of my best friend and her sister, and we'll go to the lake. Or we're going, on a road trip to go see our great grandfather, yay.
yeah,
I loved it going out there. She would get spontaneous. We're going to Mount Charleston and going to do something. And that's why we continued to have a good relationship, because she still was actively being a mom, actively showing, hey, we can make memories. And those memories, have truly helped me get to where I am with her in this relationship now, is because that's the mom I always enjoyed. She had her,
yeah,
I swear she had multiple personalities. Um, and, but after that sexual assault and her hitting me, I didn't know what to do anymore. And that was the sexual assault that got me pregnant. Um, and I didn't know how to tell her, because she thought I was just a whore and a slut that was going
yeah,
around spreading her legs. Um, and I didn't know how to tell my grandmother. I didn't know how to tell anybody. And here I was, you know, towards the end of my freshman year of high school, and I don't know what to do. We live in the worst of worst neighborhoods, and my family already shames my mom. I'm one of her shames. Or I get shamed because she is my mom. So it was, oh, you just ended up like your mom. You laid in bed with somebody, you spread your legs, you ended up just like her. I knew you were gonna be just a piece of shit. And so I forced myself to miscarry. Um, I did anything and everything I could to make sure that it would not stick. And that meant beating myself. And that was, I blamed myself for a lot of that. That's one I haven't told. Um, and so I ended up moving to Oklahoma to live with my nana to get away from Vegas. Vegas was just a nightmare for me. I have been sexually assaulted 3 times. My ex stepdad's abusive. My family doesn't really care for me. So I want away from the state. I want away from the city. I moved to Oklahoma. Well, that did not help me anymore. I went
yeah,
into the deepest, darkest depression. And I lost a lot of weight from the depression that I was in. But I I went into that hole of, that internet hole even longer. I broke up with my boyfriend, didn't want to be with him. was a year too clingy for me. And then I just went into that whole internet life. Well, I met up with people, it got taken from me, and then it changed me for a little bit. And but I was so lonely. I didn't have anybody. I was picked on because, I was different. And then I was considered I ended up being looked at as a whore out there. I was a small town. Um, my school was 300 students, K through 12, and that was because
Oh,
we were
wow.
the countryside of Oklahoma, of this town. Um, so, but people were finding out that, oh, she met up with this guy and this and that, and it just rumors got spread, and they spread like wildfire in small towns.
Oh,
And
yeah. I live in a small town in the country. I get
I
it.
couldn't I couldn't go anywhere without being babysat. And imagine being 16, 17 years old and you're being babysat. And I'm like, I can't live like this. I got threatened to be kicked out twice, and I'm like, who am I gonna call? Who am I gonna go to? Nobody out here knows me, or I don't know them. They're not family. So that summer I turned 17. I was like, I'm moving back to Vegas. Um, And I was still processing everything from the sexual assault and forcing myself to miscarry and then going into that super dark hole and not having anybody. I could barely talk to my mom. I didn't know what was going on with my mom. I didn't know what was going on with my sister. Like it was very, not complete radio silence, but I wasn't allowed to talk to her without permission. And that
Yeah.
I'm still trying to rebuild that relationship with my mom. And so I think that break is what saved our relationship because she was trying to figure out her away from her abusive relationship and I was trying to figure
Yeah.
out me without her. Um and I came back and that was the strongest our relationship's ever been. I have pictures and videos of little things that we were doing when I was visiting. It was supposed to
Mm.
be a visiting trip and on that trip things happened and I decided to stay. And our relationship was tenfold. Like it was so much better. We were, that was my best friend. I could tell her anything. I felt like I could tell her anything. And so that's when I started to open up to her a little bit more. She found out about the rape that happened and
Yeah.
everything. And she was like, I had no idea. And she beat herself up for it. Um, because that was the one that just really sat prominently in my head. That last one destroyed me in a lot of areas, because I made myself miscarry. I beat myself up over that, and I absolutely hated myself. I felt like I defied, God, and God hated me for what I did, and I couldn't be loved because I did that, and when I finally told other people about it, it was oh my God, I didn't know that happened to you. Are you okay? Are you dealing with it okay? Well, better, but it's not.
Yeah.
How I dealt with it, I don't know. I don't know how I dealt with it. I probably am still kind of numb to it more than I like to admit. Um, But coming back and having building that relationship with my mom and starting to be able to open up to her, she still was very narcissistic in a lot of areas. Oh, I didn't do that. You deserve that in some way, or um, and that was because she was still on and off with the drugs. And
Right.
um, after she hit her head, she lost her mind on me and like dragged me down the hall and like by my sweater, ripped my sweater in half. Like my stepdad had to pry her off of me. I was like, this is not my mom. And
Right.
and seeing that she was a different person, she was changed, and then seeing that come out of her, it was, I knew you haven't changed. Like this is, you're still the same person. I can't believe you're doing this, and you're still putting your hands on me. I'm done. Um, but it wasn't my mom, and it didn't seem like her. And so it was taking in, I had to heal myself a little bit more to allow myself to be around her, to be okay with her.
Yeah.
And I did that, you know. I ended up spending, 10, 11 years taking care of her. It's been almost 12 years since that all happened. And I've been taking care of her, and I stepped up and was like, it's okay. It's fine. I'll laugh about it. I do laugh about it on most occasions. Most of the shit she's done to me, I laugh about. It's like, I can't believe she threw an egg at me. Because
It is. I know exactly what you're thinking. I was literally thinking about this earlier about my mom when you were talking about stuff that your mom did. I was like, if I tell a story, it's going to sound like my mom was abusive too. But I was such a sassy little brat. And I was 16, so I wasn't a little kid. And I was being so sassy to her. I was smack and talk back. And next thing I know, she picks me up by my neck, up on the wall. Like my feet are not touching the ground. She's like, because I was cussing her out. And she said, say that again to me. And I'm like, you don't better put me down. I'm gonna call Child Protective Services on you. She's like, you just go ahead, right on ahead and do that. You just go ahead. But oh yeah,
you
I
know, I
understand.
through all the shit that's ever happened, it is what I'm dealt with it pretty much. My mom has
Yeah,
never really been the biggest problem of it. It was always my stepdad and the sexual assaults. I think a lot of it was, the lack of relationship I had with my dad. Now, yes, our relationship is so much better now. We
yeah,
talk, and our relationship has really built back up. But the lack of relationship with my family was where it really affected me in a lot of areas. When I finally, what was it? The internet life too. The internet life
yeah.
affected me a lot. I was so trapped in technology. I didn't want to pay attention to what was going on around me. And I really didn't give a shit what was going on around me.
Mhm.
Especially after the age of 17. That 16, 17 is when I really dived into it. We moved to Texas, and I unleashed the most toxic side of, being sexually interactive. I didn't care.
Yeah,
I didn't care what they looked like. I didn't care. Nope. I was just, I want to numb. And that was, I used it to numb
it's like a
majorly.
drug.
It
Literally
was,
like a drug.
yes. And it was sad. And, looking back, I go, it was really sad because no, half of them weren't even worth my time. Um,
Right.
you know, uh, it was, but in the moment of just, I am taking care of kids, my mom, my stepdad, my step grandmother. I'm taking care of everybody. I'm a senior in high school. My life is completely just up and exploded. I don't get any time with me. I don't have any time. So between like 10 o'clock at night to like 4 o'clock in the morning, I was out. I went and hung out with any guy that was willing to hang out with me. And now, not all of them were, asleep, but I was like, I've been to the
Yeah,
hookah lounge. I was 18 years old, so it was like, but I was like,
yeah,
I didn't care. I jumped into that world, and I part of me was ashamed for the longest for it. And then I go, you know what? I was just out there getting whatever I needed to get by through life. Life was
yeah,
absolutely horrible. And I got very lucky that I didn't, and I didn't end up getting pregnant, I didn't get kidnapped, or I didn't,
yeah,
any of those problems, any of those situations happen. But I went through, and then for the last 10 years, and then I met my husband. I mean, we met prior to that, but we officially came together. And I still had a hard time leaving the life behind on the technology part. I really did. I kept going back to it, and kept running back to it, and kept running back to it. He would catch it, he would find it, and it would break him, because here he is seeing me talking to these other people. Well, I didn't see them in that sense. I didn't care for them in that sense. They were just somebody to talk to. Um, or it was for me to live in that fantasy world. It wasn't
mhm,
meant to be brought into this real world. So, but it still didn't take away what it done to our relationship. And
right.
even though he would catch it, a couple months later, here I am falling back into the same pattern. And so there was like, there's something deeper. There's something that's really there that, and my mom kept saying it's an addiction. It's an addiction. Well, I don't want to believe that's an addiction because I'm like, it's technology. It's just the internet. How can that be an addiction? You have to be, you have to be addicted to the taste. You have to be addicted to, the smell, whatever. And
Yeah. You're addicted to the
no,
feeling it gives you, the high that you have.
and it can very much give the same high as you being on drugs.
Yeah.
And that very much it gives that same dose of dopamine and all the other good shit you can get, that your
Yep.
brain chemical can release. It's just that it's internet wise, but it's still giving you the same effects. And that's why I pretty much we very much on looking through the glass are like, no, you don't have to be addicted to substance to have an addiction. There's gambling addiction. There is there's a whole show that says My Weird Addiction.
Yeah. You can be addicted
And
to anything. You can be
ex-
compulsively addicted to picking your damn nose if that's what it is. I mean, there's if there's something psychologically going on and your mind needs to drown itself. Yeah, a lot of times it's going to be drugs or alcohol, but especially for someone, okay, your mom, was on drugs, so maybe that's not the route you wanted to go to on that time, but your body needed something, and so for you
you
it
need in
became
and out.
yeah. Mine was the same way. Like I needed to feel pretty, I needed to feel love. So these guys online are telling you that you're pretty,
And they're loving
and
on you. They're telling
they
you how
love it.
gorgeous
It
you
makes you
are.
feel great about
Hmm.
yourself, and heck yeah, you get
And
addicted to
they
that
know how to
feeling.
give. Yep, they know how to give the right words that you need to hear so you can sit
Yep,
there and be feel boasted and yeah, though they boost you and you sit there and you take it in and then it makes you want more and then it makes you want more and you're like this
yep,
attention feels amazing and because you're going I'm not getting it anywhere else. Who else is gonna like me the way they like me? They like this side of
right.
me.
And a lot of things other people might not understand that don't have the same addiction problem. It's not just about, I can get that way some, okay, I have the most amazing husband in the world. Amazing.
Hmm.
Gives me all the attention, all the affection, all the love. It's letting me live my dream over here, not working, trying to do the podcasting thing. And, he's amazing. I would never cheat on my husband, ever, ever. But it still doesn't mean that if a guy tells me I'm attractive or pretty, that it doesn't spark something in my brain and I flip my hair a little bit. Oh, thank you. Now, and I'm not thinking about how that made my husband feel,
Of
because
course
there's
not.
been times where he was like, "You were kind of flirty with that person." I'm like,
Hmm.
"Not me. I definitely don't flirt." Like, what? He's like, "No, you were like really flirty with that person." And I was like, "Dang. Well, I was definitely not intentional because I know you, but I need you to know because it still hurts my feelings. I know why you've done what you've done. You felt pretty. You weren't feeling pretty in the moments before. It is what it is. So sometimes we hurt, those actions even allow us, just like with drugs or alcohol, to hurt other people, and you don't mean to. It, it just, you need to have that feeling sometimes, that feeling of being wanted and feeling pretty and feeling skinny or feeling. You can always tell when I'm feeling myself because I'll take a selfie, I'll put on makeup. Otherwise, I won't be online for like 2 weeks showing my face. I may be
Yep.
sitting there playing on the internet, but I'm not showing myself. I have to
Yep.
feel decent, but I'm getting to where I'm not doing that anymore because of the
Yeah.
podcast. I told y'all
Yeah.
that the day that I did y'all's. I said I was running behind. I didn't have time for makeup. I feel completely
Are you
not in
kidding
my
me?
best space. And now I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. That's not about that. And if I'm going to be, like my mom keeps saying, and my husband, if you're going to say you're unapologetically Maren, that means you don't give a shit. You
Why
didn't have
do you
time to
think
brush your
I
hair
always
today.
I always hop in and I got these little hairs sticking out. You'll see me halfway through like the interviews. I'm sitting here trying to get them to tuck back
I
in.
know. I'm like looking at myself there. I'm like, keep moving this wig over. I'm like, And that's
Yeah.
also self-esteem things, though. Other people
Yes.
doing it, maybe just doing it because the wig is on their nerves. So I just keep trying to make sure that in this viewpoint that I see, which is what other people see, that it doesn't look weird, that if it looks okay. So, but that's also a self-esteem thing. But no
It
one
sure
realizes
is.
that you're doing it. They don't realize how much you're in your head always,
And
and especially
you,
having borderline personality disorder, that
oh
feeling of
yeah.
abandonment 24/7. Like,
Well, and then you're
why does
sitting
my
there.
husband love me?
Yeah. Well, and I have the PTSD from the abuse from my
Yeah.
ex-stepdad. And I have a lot of it from being picked on too. I had him
Yes, you did.
constantly
Yeah, me
getting
too.
in my head and being picked on. So I've always been overweight. I've always been a little on the fat side. Now
Hmm.
I'm a lot of fat side, but you know, I the podcasting, I had to sit there and go, okay, Giselle, you're fine. You look fine. So what if you look like you just rolled out of bed? Because today I did just roll out of bed. I woke up after 11 o'clock from going, oh, shit, I have pre-interviews I gotta go to. Totally missed our first one. You know, first time I've done that. But I have to realize that it's okay. One, especially
Yeah.
now that I'm a mom myself, I never thought I would see this day after, what happened to me prior. And I always thought that was part of my sulking was I shouldn't have done that. That's why God hates me. Like I'm never gonna
Yeah.
have kids. I've literally thought I was never gonna have kids after
Yeah.
that.
You thought you were
Um,
going to be punished.
exactly. I thought I was gonna be
That that was your
punished.
one chance, and that you ruined that chance, and now.
And my mom talks about miracle of God. I'm not very much of a godly person. God's just the name I put to it. I'm more of a spiritual person. I like to say,
Your higher power. Yeah.
my higher power, the universe, whatever it is. When I stopped my internet addiction, December 31st of 2024, I I sat there and I went to my husband and I told him everything. I told him this is what's going on, and I realized what led me to it, and that was the sexual assault I had when I was 13, the grooming, the coercion, and everything. Because that's when I picked up on it. Um, and that was my scapegoat. And, he had to process it. He had to sit there and go, okay, that doesn't hurt as bad because you came to me and I didn't have to just find it. But there was still a lot of hurt. There's a lot of trust issues. There was a lot of pain. And, I understand that. If he had decided that he didn't want to be with me anymore after that, I would have totally understood. I fucked up. That was my screw up. I should have known better. I didn't know how to put our relationship first. And then literally a few months later, God, I was blessed with a little girl. I was blessed with a pregnancy, and I was sitting here going, "This is not real. This is not real. This is not real." Oh no, it got more and more
Real.
real. It got more and more real, and I was blessed with this beautiful little girl, and I see life so differently. I was seeing life differently, but dealing with the drop of recovery, even my own recovery with pregnancy hormones and now
Hmm.
postpartum hormones, it's life is so horrible. No, it's it gets really rough, and I'm learning to adapt. I'm learning to get through it. Um, some days are harder. I literally had like a complete mental breakdown a couple days ago, um, of just everything. I felt like I was an inadequate mom. I wasn't doing enough. I felt like I wasn't enough. Sorry, my eye's been twitching. Um, and I just took this mental overload of everything, and I, had to open up to my husband about things I haven't been been, honest about with him on certain things. And that was kind of a clash to his ego. And, I was like, I shouldn't have said anything. I should have just kept my mouth shut. And, I tore myself up. And so, even though I'm this far into my healing and with my own podcast with mental health problems, I'm still dealing with my own mental health, that I'm still
Same.
dealing
Yeah.
with it. Um, and that's kind of like I haven't. nobody really knows yet. Like, I don't care if it's out there, but I'm trying to learn how to share with everybody what I've been through, what I'm working
Yeah.
on, because it's not easy. And, never having a voice to finally learning how to have a voice like this
Yeah. Yeah.
is so weird. Trying to put
Yeah.
everything into words, I'm surprised I even got through this.
Yeah, and girl, you got through it perfect. You haven't stumbled. You kept on talking, and but imagine finding this side of your voice. It's different being on the other end. You have your podcast that you're doing. It's different when you're giving your story, and it's more vulnerable, but it's empowering and it's therapeutic. And the more that you do it, it's a healing. It's healing for you. And I could see the change just in the like when you were talking about your earlier years and your teenage years, and then till just now when you're talking about your daughter and finding yourself, like your eyes started glowing again. You had joy in your face and a smile. So I can tell that you honestly, you are, you are healing. You are finding. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously,
No,
but
it's not.
you're figuring it out. Or you're at least giving it effort instead of saying, it happened. It is what it is. I'm just going to move forward. No, because you want to heal. And
Yeah,
especially, you're on a healing journey, helping others heal, and you're helping yourself heal at the same time. That's exactly
and
how I feel like I'm doing too.
it is. And, I'm trying to learn how to put into words for other people because I know how difficult it is to put into words.
Yeah.
And, I I still feel like I stumble over the whole thing because I'm just like, Jesus, there's so much I can go about. I can talk about anything and everything. I can sit in one segment of my life and go through all the bits and pieces. And,
Yeah.
what happened to me and what's done that. And, but I sometimes just going into the depths of it, I'm like, I could talk about it, but am I healing from it?
Yeah. I think you are more than you realize that you are. Because you're still going to struggle with it. You're still going to get off this podcast and be like, okay, it's still going to be there, but it's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be there less and less the more that you do it. And the more
And
that you
that's,
talk about your story, what you've been through, not just your mom and your story together, your story, your part, your role in this, eventually it's gonna take less and less and less until it's so easy to talk about. It's You say it perfectly. It's not so minute because you're so healed from it. And your words heal so many others too. Because I mean, I've been, through sexual assault. So many people have, and with the abuse, and but to hear now, hearing your story now, you went through the horrible traumatic experience. Never thought you were going to be able to have kids. Too, I saw you holding your baby the other day. When we were on a conference. I mean, you're happy. You've got your baby. You've got your husband. Things are getting better and will continue to get better. We just
yes.
unfortunately, for whatever reason, God does what He does. He puts a lot of us through a lot more difficult things, but it's because we have to be able to work through and soul search, because we are meant to help others. We are meant to help people who can't help themselves through these situations. And we may feel like that's us too, but it may have been us in the beginning, and you may feel like it's you now, but it's not. You just sat here for an hour and 8 minutes talking about it with ease. So it's becoming easier for you. I think it is definitely therapy, and I think it's something you should do more of too. Do some more
And
talking with
trust me,
yourself. Yeah.
I got other people are going, you're coming on, you need to talk. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah. See, because
But thank
you
you, Maren.
you both have your story. You're
We
the
do.
y'all focus more on your mom, but you have your own story, and you
Yes.
helped write a big part of your mom's story, but from before recovery to now. I mean, you're a big part of her story, but you've got your own that you need to get out there sometimes too, because
Yeah,
it's healing.
it is. And, that's why I said, is it, when I talk about, is it healing me? Yeah, it is in a lot of areas. Sometimes it's a little hard, but I don't mind.
Yeah.
I can get
Yeah.
through it. I'm tough enough.
Yes, exactly. And you just think about the next person, the person that gets to hear your story. You know, the
Exactly.
whether it's the one person or 100 people that feel something from it, as long as one person resonates with your story and is able to change something about their life, that's amazing. And we may never even know about it. They may never reach out and say, you know what, I saw you on this podcast. You changed my life. You may never
Yeah.
know, but our words mean a lot and hold a lot of value with a lot of people.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'm
and
very
it
grateful
always
you
will.
told me your story. Your
I
story.
appreciate you having me on. I really do. I appreciate you
Absolutely.
having me on.
Sorry that it took so long. That my COVID brain is like, it's been bad. I've been not feeling good. And I
You're
literally wrote
fine.
down, I went back to the message and I was like, no, we said, because we usually do like Tuesdays or Thursdays on y'all side. And then, or like, because y'all do Mondays and Fridays. I don't know. The message did say today. I read tomorrow. And then when your mom called, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I was like, "I can't." I'm sitting here sneezing. I was coughing and sneezing, and I was taking my temperature at the time. I was like, "I can't do nothing right now." Oh my god, I'm such an idiot. They're gonna hate me. But it is what it
You're
is.
fine.
Now we
I
got you
I
on here. Now we just
understand.
got to get you and your mom
Exactly. Yep.
exactly, and then we
You
all good.
exactly.
But
We
I
made it
really
this
do
far.
appreciate you, and we did this thing. We did our thing, and just reminding everyone, just what we've been talking about is that we are enough. That
We
you and
are.
I both go through so many instances in life on an everyday basis where we don't feel enough, where you may feel like an inadequate mom because you can't figure out why the baby won't stop crying. I'll feel like an inadequate wife because I've been here an entire 12-hour day while my husband's working, but my house is destroyed. I've done nothing literally all day because I couldn't drag myself up. But I'm enough. And tomorrow is going to be a better day. And if I can't give 100% today, then I give 25%. And tomorrow I pick up my slack. Don't beat yourself
Exactly.
up. We are enough. And we are loved and we are valued. And our stories matter. So thank you so
Exactly.
much again, Jeselle. I cannot wait to do this again with your mom and you. Y'all be hearing more from these guys coming up, and it's going to be an interesting one. So we are going to go ahead and head on out. And like we said, remember, you're always enough. Always check in on your friends' mental health. Always speak out, and always know you have a voice. Until the next time, have a good one.